At that moment, one imposing formation after another of soldiers stood in formation, their expressions solemn and fully armed. In the hearts of these men, Jiang Yi had long become a god-like figure. For many, the mere sight of Jiang Yi was an honor. Upon spotting Jiang Yi, the soldiers turned as one and rendered a military salute. Jiang Yi nodded with satisfaction. Spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. Given the suddenness of the event, this wasn't even the full force of his troops, just a portion. Had the entire force been assembled, the scene would have been even more awe-inspiring. Chapter 33, The Military Parade. Hooray! Armed Forces. Expansion. Expansion. The parade commenced. As the vast land forces marched past, Jiang Yi's concept tank exchanged from the system also made its appearance. Jiang Yi descended to the first floor to observe up close. Over a dozen concept tanks. They roared toward him like colossal steel beasts. The sheer pressure made it hard to breathe. In reality, they looked even cooler. Jiang Yi thought to himself. Watching it in the game before never gave me this feeling. Jiang Yi could almost sense the utter despair enemies must feel upon encountering this thing on the battlefield. This damn thing might as well be cheating, okay? A Bugilai arranged a special vehicle for Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi climbed in and began touring the entire city alongside the parade formations. V-room. The car had just started moving. A thunderous roar erupted overhead. Looking up, fighter jets appeared. Their silver-white, futuristic sci-fi design was modeled after the Signins biomimetic fuselage. At this moment, in high-speed flight, the sonic boom accompanied their passage. Jiang Yi could only mutter, "Damn, that's so freaking cool." It stirred an adrenaline-pumping rush. Seeing this, a Bugilai issued a command over the radio. The fighter jet executed several complex maneuvers mid-air. A vertical nosedive. Spinning 180 degrees before taking off again, even performing consecutive flips mid-air. Such maneuvers were utterly impossible for other fighter jets. The aircraft's performance couldn't achieve them, and the pilot's skills certainly couldn't. "Leader, under your command, we will surely forge a path to greater strength." A Bugil's voice brimmed with pride. Jiang Yi glanced at him, merely nodding without a word, feigning composure. Of course, inside, he was already bursting with excitement. His heart surged with emotion. This is how a true man should be. All before his eyes is my empire. The main city area was vast. Only after completing a full circuit did Jiang Yi return. This was exhilarating, witnessing his own armies and weapons in the flesh. Though it was a bit painful to see the prestige points drain. Nearly 2,000 gone. Of course, beyond the show-off and thrill, Jiang Yi gained something substantial from this visit. First, he gained a much clearer understanding of his main city. The real-world experience was different from just looking at maps in the game. First off, the infrastructure was still lacking. Jiang Yi started working on roads and such from the second or third day of playing the game. The roads were now mostly in place, but facilities like the airport, highways, and basic public services were still lacking. To achieve better development, public welfare is crucial. Otherwise, you won't even be able to feed the people, leading to widespread discontent. Subsequent development would be like trying to make tofu with a rope, not even worth mentioning. Should we start with public welfare projects? Jiang Yi pondered. After a moment, he decided to proceed that way. After dinner that evening, Jiang Yi returned to his dorm and began meticulously drafting a detailed plan in his phone's notepad. Jiang Yi was a perfectionist. He spent over 2 hours on it. A comprehensive plan spanning thousands of words was finally complete. First, oil extraction had boosted the current fiscal funds to over 60 billion yuan, considerably wealthy by any measure. Jiang Yi's approach was to pour money into it. As the saying goes, money can make the devil push. There's nothing money can't solve. Next comes the prestige points, spend those freely too. For instance, constructing buildings or accelerating production functions can be expedited using prestige points. Logically speaking, with all the recent projects, we shouldn't be short on prestige points going forward. At least not in the short term. With the plan set, Jiang Yi began implementing the first step, instructing a Bugil to release news of high-paying recruitment offers. The goal was to attract talent from all regions and hire professional workers. Why not use existing military personnel? Jiang Yi's reasoning was that since things were going to become more formalized going forward, military personnel should only be responsible for military operations. Discipline. It was the most indispensable element in the military. Soldiers should not be involved in miscellaneous tasks. Moreover, specialized tasks should be handled by specialists. That's how you achieve efficiency. Upon receiving Jiang Yi's prompt, he set to work immediately. Before long, Hushi Armed publicly issued a tender, offering a price many couldn't refuse. This caused quite a stir. Especially the government forces in Yamen and the Sandao region, who were unsure what tricks the Hushui militia was up to this time. And weren't they supposed to be broke? How did they suddenly become so wealthy? Could they really have risen to prominence just because of one oil field? Hadi and Solomon lay awake night after night. Their worry now isn't about failing to subdue the Hushai militia, but about what might happen if the Hushai militia keeps growing like this. Could they suddenly strike right at their doorstep one day? The remarkable thing about East Asia is that some nations have prospered immensely through oil. But for others, oil has brought disaster in war. Some nations have been torn apart, families destroyed. In wealthy areas like Diba, locals live like gods, outsourcing all the dirty and grueling work to foreigners. According to Jiang Yi's understanding, in Dubai, most outsourced projects are typically given to Indians. They offer relatively higher wages.
This has led many Indians to scramble for jobs in places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
Now that Zhang Yi was offering even higher wages than these places, Indians would surely be clamoring to come. When setting recruitment targets, Zhang Yi primarily focuses on Indians. Projected investment, $1 billion. Can sequentially recruit 6.68 million people. Confirm? Confirmed. Having played this game for some time now, Zhang Yi no longer hesitates to invest heavily where it matters. You can't catch a wolf without sacrificing the bait, that's the logic. Investment successful. Current recruitment count, 5. Current enrollment, 11. Current recruits, 38. Now it's time to wait patiently. On the first day, over 2,000 people signed up. On the second day, over 3,000, and on the third day, nearly 5,000. In short, thanks to Abdullah's advertising effect and the lure of high salaries, the number of recruits grew daily. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. During this period, Zhang Yi applied a slight acceleration. The workforce was assembled. Zhang Yi handed over the pre-drawn blueprints and construction plans to Abujal, instructing him to oversee their implementation. In no time, highways, airports, food and pharmaceutical processing plants, hospitals, residential areas, various transportation hubs, public transit systems, and more all commenced construction. From the map, tens of thousands of people began working simultaneously. It was a truly spectacular sight. The entire city was transforming at a pace visible to the naked eye. Oh, right. Half a month passed, and Zhang Yi nearly forgot something important. The training ground he'd commissioned earlier was also completed at the same time. Zhang Yi opened the map and located the site where the training ground had been built. Click to view. Training ground. There it was, a massive soldier training ground, standing tall. Chapter 34, The Training Ground. Preparing for territorial expansion. Zhang Yi's current forces numbered around 100,000, bolstered by recent conscription drives. The current troop strength now approached 150,000. Yet even with such a massive force, there were scarcely any elite troops to be found. This was unacceptable. No matter how numerous the soldiers, if they lack individual skill and cohesion, they're nothing but scattered sand, utterly useless on the battlefield. How had previous battles been won? Entirely through the advanced equipment exchanged from the reputation store. When both sides have equal forces, a head-on clash would only see our forces routed. Zhang Yi tapped his phone, adjusting the training lineup before initiating the drill with a single command. Training. Oh, and the training modes are categorized as low efficiency, medium efficiency, and high efficiency. Zhang Yi spent another 200 prestige points to upgrade the training efficiency to high. Training in progress. Efficiency, high. This way, training 10,000 people at once would mean the entire 150,000 could be trained in no time. Just imagine. A full 150,000 elite soldiers, each comparable to the world's top-tier military units. How terrifying would they be when assembled? Even the elite assault squads would weep at the sight. Zhang Yi's plan is to forge the world's most formidable armed force. Not just strong. Zhang Yi sought an army capable of sweeping away any military force, any national power on the planet. Then, with nothing else to do, Zhang Yi opened the map and studied it for a while. Most of Yamen was now displayed in green territories under Zhang Yi's control. Breaking it down further, they comprised numerous strategic strongholds. Zhang Yi identified some vulnerabilities. He swiftly redeployed troops to reinforce them. He placed particular emphasis on the strategic importance of areas near the main city, assigning troops to maintain round-the-clock vigilance. The remaining areas are controlled by the Yamen government forces. They were primarily concentrated in the southwest. Zhang Yi smiled. The prime locations in Yamen were now firmly in his grasp. Don't underestimate the Yamen government forces, they also control significant territory. But they were forced to retreat. Moreover, most of these territories held little practical value, lacking even strategic buffer zones. Zhang Yi clicked and an attack button appeared below. Attack. However, after clicking the attack button, a system warning appeared. Attack risk alert, red. This was a high-level warning. Generally, locations that are difficult to conquer will trigger this high-level warning. Regardless, it's time to expand our territory. Zhang Yi murmured. Previous inaction stemmed from the Yamen government forces entrenched in the remaining territories and guarding them fiercely. To prevent being breached, they'd poured in massive resources. If we forced a breakthrough, even if we captured it, Zhang Yi would suffer heavy losses. The same problem persisted, the soldiers' quality was weak. It's worth noting. This weakness didn't lie in individual combat prowess. Through systematic training, our soldiers' physical capabilities far surpassed the enemy's. The reason they still couldn't win in combat. Zhang Yi believes the primary reasons are their lack of combat experience and unprofessionalism. War is decided not by individual bravery but by team coordination and strategy. Therefore, training at the drill ground focuses not only on building soldiers' physical strength but more importantly on teaching them how to fight and how to perform on the battlefield. This issue was resolved. Combined with the advantage of superior equipment, Zhang Yi was confident that in the next battle, casualties could be minimized to the greatest extent possible. Zhang Yi had no intention of letting the soldiers he had trained at great personal expense die on the battlefield without fulfilling their true worth. It took some time. He devised a detailed battle plan. Everything was now in place, all that was needed was the right moment. As soon as the training mission was complete, Zhang Yi immediately led his troops northward. Zhang Yi couldn't help but admire his own military prowess. Though he'd never commanded troops before, once he got started, every move and next step became crystal clear in his mind. In his previous life, he must have been a military genius. Zhang Yi chuckled to himself. You have an invitation. View? Suddenly, an email notification appeared on the screen. An invitation? Zhang Yi casually clicked on it. Resistance Fox, greetings, esteemed leader of the Hushi Armed Forces. We will be holding an emergency meeting in 2 days, on the 9th of this month. We sincerely invite your participation. Location, Dehailan. A moment of silence passed. Zhang Yi recalled that this organization, known as Resistance Fox, was a coalition formed by Yilong alongside Rabbit Ear Chi, Big Goose, and other nations to resist imperialism and terrorism. As for why he had been invited, Zhang Yi pondered briefly before understanding. Before he accepted the Huqiao Armed Forces, Yilang had always been the mastermind behind them. It was Yilang who provided the Hushi Armed Forces with weapons and self-sufficiency, offering support in every aspect. It could be said they were entirely fostered by Yilang. In Yilang's eyes, the Hushi Armed Forces were their capable underlings. Convening a meeting at this time. This doesn't seem like a simple matter. Could it be that recently, by leading the Hushi Armed Forces, I've caused too much commotion? Has the other side begun paying serious attention to this? If that's the case, Zhang Yi has little to worry about. After all, he currently had no conflicts of interest with Yilong, Rabbit Ear Chi, or Big Goose. On the contrary, they all shared the same adversaries and common enemies, effectively standing on the same side. Zhang Yi didn't respond immediately. Instead, he pondered for a moment. Over an hour later, Zhang Yi finally made his decision. He would attend the meeting. First, though these factions hadn't made any major moves in a long time and seemed low-key, their capabilities were not to be underestimated. Take Canada Goose, for instance. It's one of the Big Five, a powerhouse that can go toe-to-toe with the United States. Rabbit Ears may not be quite as formidable, but the region where Rabbit Ear Chi is located holds immense strategic significance. If Zhang Yi could better unite these factions, then unifying Yemen would be a piece of cake. Not only unifying Yemen, but even conquering Shatsa and annexing Yilong would pose no challenge. A gleam of ambition flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. No one can resist power. When power is laid out before you like this, anyone would be tempted. And don't talk about hypocrisy. People live to prove themselves. If you don't grow strong enough to devour others, then once they gain that strength, you'll be the one swallowed whole. That's the reality. Zhang Yi reopened the email and sent a confirmation reply. He would attend the meeting. Shortly after Zhang Yi's confirmation. Intelligence Department of Yisili. Latest intelligence, leaders of the Resistance Fox faction will convene a critical meeting in Yilong in 2 days. Suspected this gathering may pose a threat to our interests. The news reached Yisili's high command, immediately drawing the full attention of all senior officials. Chapter 35, Yisili's Conspiracy. Yisili Presidential Palace Hall. A massive crystal chandelier hung directly overhead, its light illuminating every corner. Yet it could not dispel the palpable tension filling the room. A man in his 40s, impeccably dressed in a suit, entered the hall clutching a stack of documents. A massive round wooden table stood at the hall's center. Seated around it were the top brass of Yisili. As Lu Wenlefu entered, all eyes turned to him in unison. Lu Wenlefu Lin, the current leader of Yisili. He was also one of the highest decision-makers within Yisili, wielding control over most of its political power. Gentlemen, I trust you are all aware of the Resistance Fox's latest actions. Lu Wen sat down and spoke in a solemn tone. Everyone nodded. Yet no one spoke, all eyes fixed on Lu Wen, waiting for him to continue. Over the years, Yisili and Yilong have been bitter rivals. Several major conflicts in the eastern continent. Each time, one of these two factions had been a key instigator. And because Yisili had the powerful backing of the Lighthouse Nation, they had never been defeated in any of these conflicts. But recent events had thrown them into disarray. More than panic, they sensed something strange and unfathomable. You see, for this meeting, the Resistance Fox specifically invited the Houthi forces. As you know, this obscure little group has been making quite a stir lately. Lu Wen's face was etched with worry. This was precisely the source of the unease. The Houthis' rise to prominence wasn't surprising enough to unsettle them. The key issue was the speed of their ascent. After the incident, they'd been monitoring the situation closely. The Lighthouse Nation had even analyzed several battles between the Hushai forces and the Sanzan and Yamen government armies. Their findings revealed the Hush armed forces possessed advanced equipment that even they currently lacked. Yes, including the Lighthouse Nation. The crucial point is this. The Lighthouse Nation has long been renowned worldwide for its technological advancement and leading edge in science and technology. Now, Hush Arms equipment has surpassed that of the Lighthouse Nation. How could they possibly keep their cool? This situation simply won't hold up to scrutiny. Lu Wen convened this meeting to gather everyone's perspectives on the Hushi armed forces' rapid rise. A gray-haired elder raised his hand. After receiving Lu Wen's permission, he spoke with a grave expression. Needless to say, this is undoubtedly connected to the Dragon Nation. He couldn't imagine anyone else besides the Dragon Nation capable of providing such massive backing to the Hushi forces. Not even the Big Goose could manage it. His words resonated with many in the hall. After over an hour of deliberation, the topic gradually unfolded. The Dragon Nation really takes the cake. Our affairs in East Continent have nothing to do with them, yet they've meddled to this extent. The Yisili leadership seemed visibly exasperated. Don't forget, According to reliable sources, the current leader of the Huxie armed forces is actually a Longwei national.
This matter is inextricably linked to Longhua. And the reason behind Longhua's actions is quite simple. It likely involves some form of cooperation with Yilang in exchange for benefits. Dongzhou is rich in natural mineral resources. To the world, it represents a huge prize one the Dragon Nation couldn't possibly resist coveting. Lu Wen's expression darkened.
He understood that under these circumstances, they must find a way to nip the risks in the bud.
Otherwise, as the Dragon Nation and Yilang continued their collaboration,
who knows what hidden dangers this might bring them in the future.
I have a plan.
The old man who had spoken up earlier raised his hand again.
Since they plan to hold the meeting in Tehran, he said, I believe this also presents a valuable opportunity for us, don't you agree?
What do you mean? Lu Wen adjusted his glasses, his gaze fixed intently on the man speaking Muds. By the way, he's one of the veteran figures in Yisili.
Before Lu Wen took office, Muds held immense influence within the upper echelons and was among the earliest core members of Yisili's think tank.
His opinions were highly valuable. What I mean is, why not seize this operation to eliminate all the high-ranking officials attending the meeting in one fell swoop? As he spoke these words, an invisible murderous intent flickered in Mud's eyes.
Eliminating the leadership would deal a crippling blow to the Resistance Fox organization. It might even trigger internal conflicts among them due to this attack. To borrow an ancient Chinese saying, let them collapse without a fight. As for potential international repercussions afterward,
he had no need to worry.
Most of the world's major media outlets, the authoritative ones, were under their control.
No one was more adept at controlling public opinion than they were.
Moreover, he has a backup plan. Why not spin this attack, pin the blame on someone else, and distance themselves from Yisili?
This thought crossed the minds of Lu Wen and everyone else present. A single name instantly sprang to mind as the perfect scapegoat. Sash. It just so happened that Shashi had been locked in fierce combat with the Huxie forces recently. Even the motive was there. If this situation forced Yilang to formally intervene, sparking conflict and igniting war, Yisili could reap the benefits from the shadows, watching the tigers fight from the mountains.
Achieving 2 goals with 1 move. 3 hours passed. The meeting adjourned.
A top-secret assassination plan was quietly finalized within the ranks of the Yisili. The next 2 days passed without incident. Jiang Yi continued his regular military drills. The soldiers who completed the training indeed showed significant improvement in their attributes and military proficiency. They formed ranks once more. Each soldier stood tall and straight, radiating confidence and poise. The entire unit radiated a different spirit and vitality. This is how a professional military force should look.
Jiang Yi marveled. It was no easy feat. We finally transformed the Huxi militia into a proper regular army, right?
At this moment, regardless of other considerations, the sense of accomplishment was immense.
But Jiang Yi also spotted a problem. Training troops and waging war were incredibly costly, yet daily oil extraction was limited.
Jiang Yi feared his treasury wouldn't last long once the real war began. Jiang Yi exchanged a detector at the fame shop, deciding to continue exploring the oil fields and commence extraction. This task naturally fell to Abdullah,
Alpha and Maxon.
Given their professional training, Jiang Yi assigned them the primary task of leading the troops. Over the past 2 days, Jiang Yi had the northern forces continue their advance, expanding their territory slightly.
Finding untapped oil fields should pose no difficulty. Dongzhou was rich in oil.
Putting down his phone, Jiang Yi yawned and rubbed his eyes. Today's tasks were more or less wrapped up.
Next up was tomorrow's meeting. Come to think of it, why hasn't there been any news about the innovation technology competition? Jiang Yi glanced at the time.
It had been several days since the materials were submitted, and he had expected results much sooner.
Oh well, the higher-ups probably need time to review it.
Shaking his head, he turned off the light and went to sleep. Chapter 36, The Ark of Resistance Meeting.
Dalilan.
A place steeped in religious significance.
As the capital of Yilang, it is the largest city in Yilang.
It is also one of the most prosperous areas in the West Asia region. Yigeographically situated in the northern central region of Yilang, it boasts a long history, having served as the capital of multiple dynasties.
Economically, as the economic hub of Yilang,
Dalilan possesses abundant oil resources and a developed industrial base, primarily focused on petrochemicals, steel, machinery manufacturing, and textiles.
Its permanent population exceeds 10 million. Early the next morning, Jiang Yi arrived in the city by helicopter.
The helicopter allowed direct access to the conference center.
Thanks to prior coordination by Yilang, the journey proceeded without any hindrance.
Jiang Yi brought Alpha along on this trip. Having a capable assistant by his side always made things easier. Upon arrival, Jiang Yi stepped out of the helicopter. The welcoming party had long been positioned along both sides of the road, the honor guard, reception staff, and others. Further back, layers of soldiers guarded the perimeter. Even professional snipers were positioned, ready for any unforeseen circumstances. In short, security was impeccable. Amidst this crowd, Jiang Yi spotted several heavyweight figures.
Hassan Hani, the current president of Yilang.
Then there was Abdullah, whose rank was lower than Hani's but still formidable.
His title, current vice president of Turkey.
The fact that both the president and vice president personally attended clearly demonstrated the importance Yilang and Turkey placed on this meeting. Of course,
it also underscores Jiang Yi's current standing. He cannot be underestimated. Otherwise, even if these two were attending the conference, they wouldn't have appeared here to greet Zhang Yi at the airport.
Beside them stood a towering figure, a burly man standing nearly 6 feet tall, clad in military uniform with a relaxed expression.
His imposing build suggested he was likely someone dispatched by the Big Goose. Zhang Yi had no recollection of him, likely just some low-level official randomly dispatched by the Big Goose. Canada's standing on the international stage was something neither the US nor Japan could match.
It was only natural that they didn't place much importance on this particular conference.
Moreover, for the Big Goose, East Continent was not yet their primary theater of operations.
At the warm invitation of Rouhani and Abdullah, Zhang Yi accompanied them into the conference building.
This conference was held at the Sadabad Palace. Sada Bader Palace, also known as the Yilong Presidential Palace. Hello. Allow me to introduce you. This is Abdullah, Vice President of Rabbit Chi. I believe this is your first meeting. Rouhani thoughtfully introduced Zhang Yi.
He was unaware that Zhang Yi had done his homework before arriving and recognized him.
Interaction buttons appeared on the screen. Zhang Yi taps the screen. The screen automatically launched a cutscene. In the animation, after shaking hands with Abdullah, Rouhani introduced Zhang Yi to the senior official from Big Goose. This is Andre, a senior official from Big Goose.
They are placing great importance on this meeting and hope we can engage in productive discussions.
Hello. Zhang Yi extended his hand.
The other party responded in Goose speak, extending his hand to Zhang Yi. As they spoke, the group arrived at the first floor conference hall and took their seats. Rouhani remained warm and welcoming throughout, his smile never faltering.
The main focus was on Zhang Yi.
This was because, under Zhang Yi's leadership, the Hushi forces had been gaining momentum at an alarming rate lately. Shatta had been rebuffed several times, suffering crushing defeats.
Moreover, the Hushi forces had discovered oil fields. They began self-extraction, establishing their own economic development. In the past,
the Hushi forces were destitute, relying entirely on their support.
So the Hushi forces would willingly call Ilang Big Brother and obediently serve them. But the Husi militia today is a different story.
They possess their own potential for development. He feared Zhang Yi would gradually lead the Hushi forces away from the Yilang and strike out on their own.
Wouldn't all their years of nurturing the Hushi forces be wasted?
Therefore, he must find a way to curry favor with Zhang Yi. Even if they couldn't maintain their former superior-subordinate relationship, they couldn't let things turn sour.
Allowing the Hushi forces to turn their focus toward Yilang.
After some small talk from his side,
without further ado, the meeting formally commenced.
As the host and organizer, Rouhani began by stating, the purpose of convening this meeting is quite straightforward.
On one hand, it's to facilitate better communication among us.
On the other, I wish to discuss with everyone the future development of the situation in Dongzhou.
At this point, Rouhani flashed another smile, turning to Zhang Yi with a beaming expression.
By the way, Zhang, you've been quite the hero over at Yamen these past few days, causing quite a stir.
Well done.
It's about time Sheikh got a taste of its own medicine.
The relationship between Yilang and Sheikh was complex. But if I had to summarize it simply, 2 words would suffice. Bitter enemies.
The kind where they wish the other would vanish entirely.
Precisely because of this, when Zhang Yi was beating up Shashi,
that fallen dog, Rouhani couldn't help but secretly cheer him on. Rouhani finished speaking.
A dialogue box appeared on the screen.
Zhang Yi thought for a moment, tapped open the chat window, and typed a single line.
Not at all. We just got lucky and won a few times. We'll still need Big Brother Elon's continued support in the future. Rouhani hastily waved his hands. Not at all. You're too modest.
In my opinion, with your leadership, the Hushi armed forces will surely achieve great things in the East Continent region.
Rouhani had no script today.
His main goal was to praise Zhang Yi to the skies.
I remember not long ago, you were still asking us to lend you equipment. How quickly things change.
Now you've led the Hushi armed forces to develop so many remarkable things.
I hear you've even created fighter jets? Something even the United States doesn't have yet?
First, he showers you with praise, making you feel on cloud 9. Then reveal the true purpose. Most people would fall right into his trap.
This is clearly an attempt to probe the origins of Zhang Yi's equipment. Oh, those? Nothing to write home about, just flashy gadgets, not very practical.
Zhang Yi simply brushed it off. Mr. Jiang, if you're open to it, we'd be happy to offer some technical support.
Speaking of equipment, Andre was quite interested. How about we co-host a technical exchange conference sometime? What do you think? A technical exchange conference? You wouldn't be planning a reconnaissance mission, using this as an excuse to probe my capabilities, would you?
Zhang Yi shook his head with a smile.
These old foxes in the political arena were indeed one craftier than the next. Zhang Yi continued to play it cool.
Rouhani and his crew tried to probe him repeatedly, but Zhang Yi deflected them effortlessly every time. Seeing that nothing was getting through to him, they eventually had to give up.
Rouhani had to steer the conversation back to the main point.
Oh, Zhang, I should warn you, Yisili has recently gained support from the Lighthouse Nation. Word is they've made significant progress and might stir up trouble soon.
You need to be careful.
Yisili is notorious for stirring trouble.
The Hushai militia is gaining momentum and will likely be targeted.
Zhang Yi typed thanks for the heads up on the screen, but before he could send it,
suddenly, boom!
A violent explosion erupted outside the window, its shockwave shattering the conference hall's glass.
Chapter 37, Suicide Attack? Hold on, watch me handle this.
Faced with this sudden chaos, everyone froze in shock. As they processed what had happened, terror spread across their faces, their expressions turning pale with horror.
Oh no, a terrorist attack. Evacuate. Evacuate. Apologies, the meeting is temporarily adjourned. Everyone, prioritize your safety first.
Lu Hani and the others shouted to everyone, scrambling frantically toward the back door. Yet amidst the chaos, one figure stood out starkly. Sitting there calmly, completely still. Allowing shards of glass blown by the explosion to fall onto the empty ground beside him. Don't panic, no need to rush. Zhang Yi typed a few words on the screen and clicked send.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances, Alpha should be pacified soon.
Seeing Zhang Yi so composed, Lu Hani, Andre, and Abdullah gradually calmed down. They turned their heads, staring at Zhang Yi with astonished expressions. This was a terrorist attack, after all. People could die. Despite their lofty positions and command over powers beyond the reach of most people in this world. At their core, they were still human. A single bullet could kill them. Zhang Yi remains utterly unmoved. He truly isn't afraid of death. Such audacity left them speechless. Outside, the clamor grew louder, gradually giving way to gunfire, followed by the sounds of soldiers restoring order. Yet despite this, screams continued to echo one after another. This was a suicide attack. The attackers, as if they had no regard for their own lives, charged forward with explosives strapped to their bodies, utterly impossible to resist. Soldiers tried to stop them, using their own bodies as barriers. But doing so meant certain death for them too. Interception efforts were severely hampered. Several bomb-laden attackers were closing in on the conference hall. Lu Hani was drenched in sweat. These lunatics. They're truly insane, so reckless with their lives. What kind of reward could they possibly be after? Such an incident occurring on their territory. As their president, he felt utterly disgraced and ashamed. Anger surged within him. This was a grave provocation, a direct challenge to the entire Elang tribe. Regaining his composure, Lu Hani wiped the sweat from his forehead and said apologetically, "My apologies. This is our failure. We truly are sorry." No sooner had he spoken than several soldiers entered the conference hall. "We're in trouble, Mr. President. There are quite a few of them, and some are about to break through. We need to evacuate immediately." Lu Hani sighed deeply. "Well, perhaps we should." But before he could finish, several sharp gunshots rang out from the front courtyard of the conference hall. 4 or 5 middle-aged men from Dongzhou, strapped with explosives, had just charged in. Bullets struck them between the eyebrows, and they collapsed to the ground. Alpha flipped nimbly through the window, his body agile as he landed. A fierce killing intent radiated from his body. "Leader, they've all been taken care of." Zhang Ye's gaze fixed on Alpha with certainty. "Well done." From the moment he spotted the enemy to Alpha's first shot, less than 2 seconds had passed, precisely eliminating 4 or 5 fast-moving targets. Alpha's capabilities were truly reliable. Zhang Yi knew bringing him along, he could play a crucial role. And now, Zhang Yi's hunch had proven correct. It wasn't that Zhang Yi looked down on Elang and the rest of the security team. Rather, faced with such a sudden assault, many clearly panicked. And out of fear for their lives, they dared not block the attack with their bodies. Had Alpha not been present, even if not a single person present today had perished, Elang's capital presidential palace would have been lost. At the very least, it would have been reduced to ruins. This incident underscored the critical importance for a leader to command subordinates who possess formidable strength and absolute loyalty. Rouhani and the others stared at Alpha in astonishment, sensing an extraordinary aura emanating from him. This was no ordinary man. He was unlike any elite soldier they had ever encountered. They had assumed Alpha was merely an accompanying staff member Zhang Yi had casually brought along. Now they realized Zhang Yi was no ordinary man. Even the people by his side were extraordinary. With skills and strength like that, if Alpha were to act out of line at such close range, no one present could stop him. They silently thanked their luck that they weren't Zhang Yi's enemies. "What's going on?" Zhang Yi asked calmly. "Report." Alpha saluted and reported, "This attack has been preliminarily identified as a suicide bombing. While the situation has been fully resolved, regrettably no survivors were taken. Leaving survivors alive could have forced military intelligence out of them." "Never mind. We'll investigate thoroughly later." Zhang Yi rose from his seat. "Take me to see it." Everyone followed Zhang Yi outside. All that met the eye was utter devastation, the air thick with the acrid stench of gunpowder and scorched flesh. Several bodies had been blown to pieces by the explosions, their remains horrifying to behold. Except for Zhang Yi and Alpha, everyone wore expressions of gloom. "Leader, these bodies are still intact." At that moment, Alpha pointed to several bodies and stated, "These are the assassins who broke through the final defenses, preparing to storm the conference hall, only to be taken down by Alpha in the nick of time. Shot in the forehead, the bombs they carried hadn't detonated in time." "Is this Sandstorm? Sandstorm operatives?" Lu Hani instantly recognized their distinctive features clearly. They were from Shashi. Lu Hani was seething with rage. What exactly was Shashi trying to do? Did they want to provoke a war in East Continent at this critical moment? It was true that the two sides were sworn enemies. But crucially, both sides had maintained stability and pursued their own development in recent years, each minding their own business. Sasek's actions had crossed his absolute line. Andre and Abdullah's expressions darkened. They cared little for the feud between Shashi and Elang, but this attack had nearly cost them their lives. This matter absolutely cannot be swept under the rug. Upon returning home, they must unite the nation to impose sanctions on Shashi and demand an explanation. This time, it was all thanks to Zhang. During the meeting, Andre, who had remained aloof and spoke little, actually took the initiative to offer praise. Because of the attitude of the big goose toward this meeting, he hadn't placed much importance on it.
Andre had essentially come to fulfill a formality. Discovering he couldn't draw any meaningful responses from Zhang Yi, he lost all interest.